Brilliant. We are live.
Okay. Hello and good morning. Hello, sir.
Yes. Hello, Beena. Hello, Beena. How are you, Beena? How are you? How are you?
I'm good and
Yes. Is that all?
I'm
You just good?
progressing.
You just good?
No, no,
Just like.
you didn't let me finish. You didn't let me finish. You didn't let me finish because you assume I'm going to say it only that. Assumptions. Assumption.
I'm teasing you, but no, I heard you saying more. I was just teasing you, but go ahead.
No, it
Go ahead.
was like,
Good.
okay, yes, okay, anyway, I'm good and I'm progressing and I'm learning and growing. That is
Yeah.
the most wonderful state of being one can ever have, I guess. This is
Yes.
my idea of life. Life is
Yes.
all about learning, growing, and making
Yes.
a progress. Making
Yes.
progress,
Yes.
not just keep learning, just keep growing in just any random way, but progress. This is the
Yes.
basic, this is the parameter to actually gauge ourselves that okay
Yeah.
where we are standing in life, and to do that we need to have structured awareness. This
Oh,
is
oh,
where
oh, 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 say that again. In order to
and this is
grow and progress, etc.
yes, yes, we need to have as a foundation of our learning and growing process, we need to have structured awareness, not any random knowledge, information, and etc., 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 but a structured awareness. This is where actually I personally feel where actually, okay, I said twice or thrice actually, sorry, where way of impeccability and moreness actually take place in your life. Where do you
Oh,
need that and why we need that? Because we all have awareness, most likely, not
mhm.
necessarily, but I'm just saying that, okay, I'm assuming that, okay, majority of
Oh,
us,
we have
we
some, we have some sort of
yes,
awareness. I mean,
yes, we have awareness and
yeah,
tons of knowledge and information because thanks to technology, and then
right,
now especially AI, we all are okay. Yes, I know this, I know this, I know this, and this is
yeah,
exactly the most repeated
yeah,
kind of an expression we get
yeah,
when the people are just learning and
yeah,
growing. They say, "Oh, I know that, I know." Because of experience, because of the memory of our experiences from past, because of technology, because of our everyday life and experiences, we all assume that we know, which is not entirely
yeah,
false. Yes,
yeah.
we know. But do we really understand that? That's a question mark there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And do we really have all the connections
Yes.
developed so we can
Yes.
actually utilize
Yes.
and use this knowledge and information and awareness and
Yeah.
turning it into awareness so we can actually progress in life?
Yeah.
Capital P
Yeah.
progress. This is the real task. We
Yeah.
all are learning, we all are growing in some way, but are we really progressing?
Yeah.
This is where we
Yes.
need
Yes. Yes.
structured
And and
awareness. And this is
and
the format.
oh,
Sorry.
good. No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, and this is what we are actually looking for. This is
Exactly.
where this is the next step. This
Yeah.
is the next
Yeah.
step of our learning and growing process where we make actual progress.
Exactly.
Learning and growing, yes, we do
Exactly.
by knowing a lot of things in life, by doing experiences, which can be random, which can be, of course, deliberate also. But the structured
Yes.
awareness, this is what way of impeccability is for me now.
Yes.
Structured
Yes.
awareness,
Yes. Yes.
deliberate structured
Yes.
awareness.
Yes.
And
Yes.
thanks to all of these awareness, thanks to all of this awareness from way of impeccability, now I feel this is what I was trying to elucidate for myself, that oh, what way of impeccability is for me. Yes, we have tons of
Yeah.
definition.
Yeah.
Some are very profound and make sense, of course all of them make sense, but to actually say that where is the
Yes.
role
Yes.
of way of
Hello, Beena.
impeccability.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Norma. Hello, Norma.
Yes.
Where we
Yes.
need
Yes.
and why we need way of impeccability and moreness in our life to make structured awareness for ourselves. This is
Exactly.
why and where we need.
Exactly. Exactly.
That was
Exactly.
that was my thought of the day,
Exactly.
sir.
Oh,
So now
I
we
love
can
it.
continue,
I love it. All right,
please.
we'll continue in a moment. I just want to add on to what Beena has said here. Yes, not only do we want structured awareness, but, well, this is part of structured awareness. We think structured means that we're going to make it tighter, more defined. No, it's the opposite. Structured awareness means you are acquiring tools that allow you to expand and go more. Yes, right? If I understand this? grow, right?
Yes.
Just being more
Yes.
deliberate about things. All right. So in the context of when you were saying about we feel and we think and we have this feeling, understanding, vibe, belief that we know what's going on, right? And I don't mean it in an arrogant way. I mean it in a regular way. For instance, as we acquire some awareness, we acquire the ability to perceive and recognize sensibility. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Now you say, well, that's a good thing. Yes, but it's also problematic. Huh? You say, huh? What do you mean problematic? So we come on. How can this be problematic? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? All right, I'll demonstrate in a message in a moment here. I just want to get to my file. There's a lot of them opened up here, and all right, there we go. There we go. There we go. Uh, hey, why didn't it save that quote from Albert? Wow, I put it in here. It saved my one, but it didn't save the Albert one. Yeah? Huh. That's very odd. That's very odd. All right. What was that quote by Albert Beena that I'm referring to?
Okay.
Oh,
Let
I
me
was hoping to
just to
read
be
it
precise.
exactly, but
Yes, we can. We can. I can read it for you because I also want it to be precise.
yes,
Not
yes.
just randomly I'm just going to
That's
say.
really weird that it didn't save it. Very odd.
Ah, no.
Yeah. No.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
All right. This is a very famous quote that we're all familiar with. We've seen it a zillion times on on the internet, on Facebook, and everywhere. Correct? Very, very, very,
Yes.
very powerful quote, and it's made more powerful because it actually is for real from Albert Einstein, right? You know, many quotes get attributed to him, but they aren't actually from him. This one is for real by him. All right. Now we say yes, and this is, and we recognize the sensibility of this. Here's where I feel this, what Bina was talking about, structured awareness. In other words, moreness awareness, where we learn to expand our awareness beyond just the typical recognition of what is sensible and get stuck there. And this belief that we know. All right. So now we have this quote, and we take it and we say, yeah, well, that's a good quote. That's a good quote. However, we just tend to, in terms of typical psychology, we tend to get stuck there. And not stuck, but we don't even realize we get stuck. We just simply treat this as if this describes the all of it. But it does not. All right. In general, occasionally, sometimes, mostly, depending on how much, this quote is valuable. But is it always so? Absolutely not. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Yes. If we get into this idea that I know, we take this, we recognize the sensibility of it, and we make it the all. We make it apply all the time. But yet, this is not so. And Albert is in the time before computers. On a daily basis, I do the same thing over and over again, and I expect different results. Yeah. I load a program and it doesn't work. I do it again. Okay, it's working. I connect to Zoom. I connect to Zoom. Yes. And well, I have
Yes.
sound and everything's fine. Some days, no, I don't have that. Yeah. And so I connect again.
Yes.
This is a standard part of Zoom. If you don't have nice sound, leave and come back. How often haven't you seen us do this? Yes. Well, I've said to people that have come on, I'm doing the same thing over and over again, getting different results. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes you only need to do it once, twice, but still, the point. Yeah. Now, okay, that's things not working the way they should do, but I'm not changing anything. I just do it differently. The problem with Albert's quote is that it assumes the rest of the world stays the same. Yeah. I may be repeating my action, but in the time between my action and the repetition, the world has changed. Yes. And also the thing that I'm doing my action on, like in the case of Zoom, it loads, and all that loading and all of the different things that it doesn't always load it the same. You would think so, but it doesn't. Yeah. You would imagine so. Albert, I think, would be absolutely shocked to realize that computers, of all things, you would imagine they would do the same thing over and over again with exactly the same precision. They do not. They do not. Neither do people. So if I'm doing the same thing over and over again, I can absolutely expect different results. This is a part of our culture, actually. All right. Who reads romance novels? Please raise your hand. If you're not raising your hand, at least if you were to say this to a typical average audience, right? And
Mm.
nobody raises their hands, I'll say liars, because romance novels are the most popular category. Yes, by far.
Wow. Wow.
They're the most popular category by far. It's the most dominant category on in Amazon, right? So, you know, at least if you look into a generalized audience, some of them will be reading romance novels. Yeah. Now, what is the typical plot in a romance novel? It's not like, okay, girl sees boy and oh, I like the boy, and they get together and they get married and that's the end of the story. No, eh? No.
Mm.
It's never smooth. It's always there's a problem. There's always a difficulty, right? And what is the typical plot? The whoever is the one that's looking to get together with the other one, they try over and over again, right?
Yes.
They keep wooing them, they keep coming, and eventually the perception of the one changes, right? I mean, we see this in sort of like with a boy going and they're wooing and they're doing all these wild things and to get the attention of the girl. And at first she doesn't like him, she thinks he's a brat, he's annoying, he's irritating, but he keeps trying. He does the same thing over and over again, and eventually he gets different results, right? He expects different results and he gets different results, or she does, either way, right? So we know this from our own experience that this is not so. Yet when we read the quote, we say, oh, yeah, that's true. It is sometimes true. Yes, sometimes. Sometimes. It's not even true mostly, sometimes. Yes. Now, what about, let's say, I'm just as a metaphorical example here. I uh, I call a call box. Now I don't know. There are not that many call boxes around anymore. But for those of you that remember public phone, yeah, you could
Yeah.
actually call the public phone. They had numbers. Yeah, like I had a girlfriend when I was, let's see, 11, 12, somewhere around there, and I called her on the public phone. But of course, I didn't have many quarters. Money was very hard, So I called her once, and she would call me back. And that's on the family's phone. It's local. There's no real cost to it.
Mhm.
And we could talk for hours. Shame. I feel bad still. Sorry, guy. There was one guy who was waiting for the call box, and we were all into it, and he was very stressed and very annoyed and very bothered. And so anyway, I feel bad. I feel bad. I mean, we could have stopped talking for 5 minutes. He could have made his call and gotten back on again. But we'd spend hours. I'd spend hours in that phone booth. These were the square phone booths, the old ones with the door still to it, right? They
Mhm.
changed those a long time ago, but I tell you what, I know 101 different ways to stand, rest, be in different poses, leg up this way, because you get uncomfortable after a while, right? So you find all sorts of different ways to be in a call box. Yeah, I've experimented with all of them. I mean, just the amazingness of youth, right? But anyway, my point is with the call, right? Now, uh, I digressed a little bit, right? Let's just say I call a call box. Yes. And I'm just calling it at random to see who picks up. Yes. I'm calling. I'm going to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. Yes.
Yes.
Because sooner or later, I mean, I'm going to get the same result. It's not insanity if I keep calling because nobody answers. Nobody answers. But I have to call for a long time because sooner or later somebody's going to come by. Well, some people may hear it call, and I've seen ringing call boxes. Yeah, I've seen it. And people will, well, must be for somebody. Somebody must be expecting. They don't answer it. But eventually, somebody, well, we better go and see who. Somebody eventually goes and answers it. It's quite fascinating, right? And for me, just if I was the one calling, this just to talk to whoever answers. Why did you answer? How come? They already have a different psychology. Just because they're answering. The point I'm making is it's doing something over and over. It's ring, ring, ring all the time. Now, what if this is applied to opportunity? Yeah. You do the same thing over and over, hoping that you're going to get a different result. If we all were following Albert's logic, how many times haven't you played the lottery? Yeah,
Hmm.
see,
Hmm.
you'd never play the lottery according to Albert. Albert, everybody who plays the lottery is, unless you're somebody who's won, yes, and you won
Hmm.
on your first or your second or your third time, right? If you lost more than twice, you're expecting a different result, right? So it's insane to play the lottery, right? You might say it's insane because of the low chances, but that is also not taking the depths of psychology into account. I know I'm not going to necessarily win, or the chances are very unlikely, but I like having that ticket in my pocket because it gives me the feeling that I could win. I like that feeling. I like the feeling that I have possibility and opportunity in my pocket. Yes, makes me very happy.
Hmm.
See, makes me very happy. Doesn't matter if I
Hmm.
win or not. I get value in the meantime, right? All right. Now, let's get really take this thinking all the way to the end. It was about Beena's point about not thinking that we know. See? We don't assume that the typical and the ordinary applies everywhere. Albert's point has merit. Yes, there are many times when people do go and bump their head and do stupid stuff over and over again, and it's just madness, right? So that does apply. There are instances that it does apply. We all know. We've all been there. Yes. I'm just taking the exceptions now. There's one very, very powerful exception. I'll read the quote. So we have Albert's insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Albert E. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is exactly the essence of unbending intent. So S. Yes?
Yes.
Huge, 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 huge quote. If you understand anything at all about intent, this quote lets you know why unbending intent is so important. I'm calling the universe on that payphone. Yes, I keep calling. I
Yes.
keep calling. This is my intent for the universe to pick up. Yes, see,
Yes.
see, not obvious, not
Yes.
simple, not regular. Again, Albert, you may think I'm insane, but is it so? Knowing from past experience, absolutely not. The universe has picked up many times, many times. Many times. All right. So intent is a different deal. You're putting your energy out there and nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens. But you got to keep at it. You got to keep at it, right? You got to keep at it.
Yes.
Also, there's another part of it is that by putting your intent out, you are keeping a pressure up and there's incremental change that happens. You are asking the universe to essentially rearrange the world to so that you can get what you want. Yeah. But of course, the universe can't go and suddenly make a snap change and everything changes because then I wake up in the morning and I say, hey, where'd my mountains go? Like, what's going on? Right? Because the universe has now changed. See, my friends, my neighbors, all different. Yeah. Okay, the world is more or
Yes.
less the same, but like in movies when people wake up in a different world, it's very disorientating, right? Okay, so the universe can't do that. But of course, if things change slowly, oh, you know what? I see my neighbors moved, Okay, that happens. Like where I'm at, it happens a bit more than usual. But I mean, you can wake up one day and your neighbors moved. Yes, it happens.
Yes.
Uh, okay. So this is the slow changes, acceptable change. So for us, our world changes. Now maybe it's that neighbor moved because they had to move so that I could get what I want. I don't know. See, my point is the universe to give you what you want, it has to change the world slowly. But and it can't do it immediately. But also, if you stop putting your intent in, you're going to say, okay, well, you're not interested anymore. All right, so I'm not going to continue to change the world to give you what you want because you've lost interest. Yeah.
Hmm.
Why? Again, you need to maintain the pressure and have unbending intent. So there are two reasons for it, right? But it's the essence of it is that you're expecting a different result. Yeah. Now it goes slowly, incrementally, or you just like waiting for the universe to pick up the phone. Either way, right? Very powerful. So it's about looking at things differently. Yes. And developing this sophistication to say, I don't know. Let me not assume when I see a sensible quote, and Albert's quote is a sensible quote, but let me not assume that that's all there is to it. Yes. I want to see things in their totality. I want to take sensibility, what I see and understand, and say, is it sensible in all instances, in all variations? In other words, develop the ability to perspective shift on sensibility. We tend to perspective shift on insensibility, on foolishness, yes? Like, why are somebody doing this? Like, what's their logic? What's their reason? Yeah? Or when things aren't working, we try and look for a different solution. But what about when things are working? See, Albert's quote
Mm,
does work. We need to learn to perspective shift when it's working as well. Why don't we? Because we assume we know that, oh, well, that's sensible. I know. Okay, I got it. I hear you. I got it. Yeah. It's a inadvertent arrogance. We don't mean to be, but we don't realize that we are limiting ourselves to assuming that this is the only place where that sensibility is complete. It's not. Albert's quote, as sensible as it is, only touches into a small fragment. Yes, it's a niche. You can almost say it's a very particular instance when that applies, right? But in general, it absolutely does not apply. Yes, as we know from love stories, the typical love stories. Well, according to Albert, they're insane, but yet their insanity leads to them getting what they want. Right? They get together. Yes.
yes.
See. So this is very, very powerful understanding as part of philosophy of opposite. Yes. This is why that I have it already there, the book 50 Ways to Be Smarter Using Opposite. Maybe the title will change. I deliberately made a clickbaity title for a change because I don't really care for them. I thought, in this case, it really is true. It really is true. We can really use opposite. And this will be one chapter about this particular point. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I like these other quotes here. Always is always dangerous. Nora says, always is almost always better. Oh, or always as almost always is almost always better. That's how it should be read. Sorry. Okay. So always as almost always is almost always better. That's from Beena. All right. I want to have a bit of fun. We're going to continue reading. It's the point of our thing today. We're going to continue reading more of the chapters from Ask Biella, Questions Answered, Book 1. There's a Book 2. So we've got a lot to do because we're doing this and we're editing at the same time, right? So I'm kind of combining and multitasking here. But part of making this book, just sharing all this, is also I need some artwork for it. I don't have to have it. It's just I like to do this, and I want to include the artwork in the book, and I'll show you, that I had in my original. See something like this, and then I have the article, and you got something in the middle of it. And these I included in the originally when I made these, and I posted them. I posted them to my blog, etc. Right now, I'll just put them all together, or at least the first ones. Um, 1 to 60 of this, they were shared to the newspaper, the Gateway Gazette, right? With the column there. So these pictures have to be publicly royalty-free, publicly available pictures, right? Which means that anybody can have them, right? And I want to in the book replace these with pictures that I have made myself, which are unique to me. And with all the digital tools at our disposal, we can do this, right? Now, this is not quite as easy as you might think because you have to put in your prompt and then you can put in an image as a source image that you can use, which I might do later on. And you see control traits, and you've got negative things to put in, exclude. I put all the exclude there, and this is my prompt. You know what? You say, yeah, but the AI is doing it for you. Well, let me tell you something. It's a lot of work to get these things. Okay, so I mean, just to scroll down, yes. And most of these, they're not quite what I'm after and what I want, right? So I'm going to go through all of them, but I want to make a few more here And I want to just share a bit of the discernments because it's kind of fun with Bean and I, right? Like for
Yeah.
instance, and this one we said we're looking for pictures that will work in the book. They don't necessarily need to represent Biella herself, but they need to represent the underlying sensibility, the sobriety, the thoughtfulness, the caring, the kindness, the togetherness. Yes. Because a lot of
Yes.
these they'll just show, okay, here's my prompt, right? Colorful, arty image of a sharp faced. And the reason I put in sharp faced, slim faced is because in the beginning they defaulted to this big headed, big faced look, right? Which, like, right, that one's kind of okay. But this, you see, which it's very cliched, very standard, and it doesn't represent what we're after, right? And these, if you know Biella, I mean, this is a pretty picture. It's very nice, but it's not Biella, right? So why the art styles? And I think it's because of Angelina Jolie. You see her influence coming in, right? She's like, I don't know. I saw the other day. I was looking at most admired woman or something, and she's at number one up there, right? One of them, right? So the AI takes what people typically think and do this, right? But you see, here we're starting to get more Biella, right? That thoughtfulness, that moreness, that togetherness, right? And also in the typical beauty ones, like below, we see, like, yeah, we see a bit of self-satisfied. This one, to me, it just represents somebody who's like, all right, they're okay, they're nice, but they got some problems. They're not, yeah, see, they're not really got their act together a little bit. This one, a little bit too self-satisfied. Yes, that self-satisfiedness. If you put in beautiful woman, the AI will almost always make you a beautiful woman that's a bit self-satisfied and smug, right? Or like this kind of a look, right? Where it's like, I don't know, but negative toward the world. Yeah. So even though Biella is insightful and she does see all of the superiority paradigms, she's not negative, right? Not at all, right? So these are, this is a nice one. This is one of the best ones. Yes, Beena? That's a very good one, right?
Yes. Yes.
Again, you see in this, the eyes are just a little off here. Yes, like something not quite right. Now I'm sharing this to illustrate discernment. Yes, to show different things. Now this is a nice one for Aki in the story in the first book of the Biella series. Aki is very youthful and it got a bit of that Oriental look to her, um, and this kind of type of a slim face as well, right? But anyway, so this would be very good for a key, sophisticated, but also innocent and, into love and stuff like that. A lot of teenage still in her, but again, at the same time, very thoughtful, very sophisticated, yes, and into goodness and into moreness and thoughtful, right? And sensible, right? Now, this is nice. This is not bad, but a little bit, like not sadness, but mm, kind of got a bit of struggles, too much, a little bit of struggles, right? So if you think of Bella, you're
It's like,
thinking of somebody
I
who's
think it is
really,
like self-pity.
yeah, exactly, very faintly, right? Bella's got her act together. Bella doesn't have any of that typical nonsense stuff, no indulgences, in other words, right? It doesn't make her
Yes.
perfect. It just means that she's made the effort and worked very hard to get rid of the nonsense in our life, right? And it's doable. It's absolutely doable, right? We can. I mean, right, Bina, we work on this every day.
Yes.
Do this. So this was the
Yes.
latest 4 iterations, and we see this now. I do like this. This is not bad. I mean, there's a bit of, you know, this is somebody who, it looks to me like, they haven't had the easiest of lives. They've had to deal with a lot of nonsense in their lives. A good no nonsense look, but also it doesn't show that they see the moreness of life, right? They see the typical regular nonsense and they know how to deal with it and they'll put up with it, but they're not seeing life as wonderful and brilliant and awesome and fantastic. Yes, right.
Yes.
Ah. So I'm sharing this because I'm sharing discernment. I'm sharing fine tuning in to get to where we want to go. And also the process of making these, right? Now, in this case, I didn't change my prompt, but in most of the others, every time I do this, I adjust the prompt, either the positive or the negative, or I change the style, right? Because when you change the style, sometimes, well, if you know this, it also changes how the program renders the face. Yeah. So it's a lot of work involved in this. There's a lot of work. Oh, this is nice. It's a little bit ordinary, right? But
Yes.
very conventional, but it's not bad. It's actually a little nicer too. It's also not bad. Yes. Almost there, almost there, almost there. So again, you have to go through a lot of this. Now, some of these I will save. We've got this type of look already. This one we don't have, but it's not that exciting. Yes. Yeah. Do you agree, Beena? I'm going to
Yes.
try. I'm going to try a different style
Yes.
just to update
Yes.
and see. Okay, this is a very wild style. Yeah, we'll try it and see. But I'm making the point that if anybody thinks that making this stuff is simple and easy, to make one, yes, is simple and easy. But to get what you want is not simple and easy. Yes, especially if you're
Yes.
discerning and demanding. Yes, and
Yes.
I need tons of these because I've got 75 chapters. That's at least 75, and most of them will have 2 or 3 in it. So I need about 300 images. Yeah, 200 plus. Yeah. Anyway, um, to get what you want. Now I'm just looking at faces here. Later I'll try different things. But you see, you change the style, and it changes the whole way they shape everything. You see, I mean, this is sort of okay. Yeah. But I think this style, I can see from the prompt on it, it's likely to not, just from experience already. I feel that I'm going to not have much success in it. Uh, anyway, as I was saying, I, I am I am sharing this to illustrate not just how much work goes into things, but also discernment, right? The precision of discernment and communication, right? Because every time I add something, there's a connectivity, and you have to look at what you're getting and what the expectations are. So you have to look at things in a broader context. All right, so this style brings back that more conventional look a little bit. Okay, not always, but I guess again in what now we're looking at the discernment here. AI is taking what people consider to be beautiful, sensible, intelligent together, right? And this I, like this type of I, is very common, and it's not what we're after, right? It is that, I don't know. It's hard to describe. She's like kind of a little up and raised in the eye here, in terms of it indicates a little bit of kind of smugness, self-satisfaction, a bit of insecurity almost, right? It's very typical, right? Whereas this is now a better face, a little bit more together, right? And it's a very conventional Biella, right? Very, very conventional, right? This one can work
Yes.
though. And we have this look already, so I'm not going to save it, right, Beena? Or should I save it anyway? All right,
Yes. Save it.
all right, I'll save it. So it's exciting. It's exciting. Bina, keep an eye if you can on Norma there, in case Norma has input on this. Yeah, I'm keen to hear if you have
Okay.
Norma. I'm keen
Okay.
to know. Let me make this. It's a very famous quote that we're all familiar with. We've seen it. All right, there we go. There we go. Wow, wow, wow. As it is so far back, it's not like caught up yet. Oh, interesting. Hello, hello, Norma. Hello, Norma. Hello, Norma. I did click love on this earlier. But anyway, keep an eye on the comments there from Norma. I'm keen to know your input and your thoughts on this, Norma. All right, so now we're gonna have exactly the same prompt in exactly the same style, and we're gonna ask her to do it again. I'm just being insane again. All right. In this case, you sometimes they'll give you almost the same with very slight variations, and depending on the software, I've tried dozens of these, right? Different ones. Depending on the software, they will sometimes give you look like these are the latest four now, right? And we're getting the variations, yeah. But this one's different, right? And sometimes the variation is very little. Like here's an interesting one, because this one's kind of nice, except look at the set of the mouth here a little bit, yeah. That's just that set which says I'm not entirely always happy with the way things are, yeah. So not ideal, yeah, not ideal. And again, it's not the beauty that I'm after. Yes, I'm after the the exemplification of character. As a matter of fact, I had beautiful and lovely in here because on some of the other programs, if I didn't put that in, I got really weird faces. Right now, this one has negative prompts, and in the negative prompts, their prompts were, yeah, after answer they had to not have ugly, deformed, noisy, blurry, distorted, out of focus, bad anatomy, extra limbs, poorly drawn face, poorly drawn hands, missing fingers. I think that's fairly common in these things. Um, but I put in, don't look like Angelina Jolie, thank you very much. Or, they had that round facedness. Well, they still have it a little bit here. This kind of, not round, but this big facedness. I don't know how to get away from that. So they keep giving me the same thing, but it's also maybe the style. So let's try a different style. And I'm just going to try a little bit more because this is kind of fun to do, and I am keen to see if anybody shares any comments. Masterpiece. What is this? I don't know. Royalistic. Okay. They have some very interesting styles. And now I'm jumping. Typically, I will try all of those styles, each one of them, and see what they look like. Because you never know. You can't go by what it shows in the picture. You can't go by what the name is. Be quite amazed. So I just try them all and see. Yeah. I mean, I know it takes a lot of time to go through them all, and likely most aren't going to be worthwhile. But you're never going to know the one that is excellent, right? If you don't try them all. Yeah. This one's nice, Beena.
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually I don't think we've had this particular look before. Yeah,
No.
very very
We
pure,
had that, but it's a different one.
and not in this level of kind of clearness of being. Yes,
Yes. Yes.
there's a very clearness of being here. And again, there's no hidden agendas. But again, you can have somebody who's very clear, but you don't think that they are particularly smart or intelligent or thoughtful or insightful. This is all there, but none of it is very prominent, right? So this is somebody who's got some independence of being, but isn't necessarily projecting all of it. They could surprise you. They could surprise you. Yes. Or right, you might assume, oh well, they're just a normal, sensible person. But if you look closely, you'll see there's likely more in here. Yeah, that's very nice. That's very nice. Again, get that conventionalness to it, right? In these, this look especially, you see it come over and over and over again because you see it. Obviously, AI is going by beautiful paintings, beautiful photographs, pictures of celebrities. You see this look very common. You see this very common. Yeah. It's very, very fascinating, very fascinating. But none of these are giving me a really truly different style, which I was sort of hoping for. Uh, okay, let's try something that seems to be connected uh, to landscape pictures, but we'll see. Now, you know what? I also said just woman. I didn't say close up of a woman. But it just keeps giving me that, right? I was hoping they would give me, full features, zoom in, give me all different angles of it. Yeah, they're all giving me the same amount of zoom in. Yeah,
Yes.
that's almost good, almost good. This one looks like they try hard, but they're not quite sure if they'll make it. It's like, you know what I mean? They don't quite have full confidence in their own authority and sensibility. So. All right. So again, these styles are, I guess, my prompt is, you know, Okay, let's take out colorful arty and see what we get. Now, you have to understand prompts too. Sometimes they give more weight to the things in the beginning, sometimes more weight towards the end. It's complicated making this stuff. It's complicated, yeah. So it's a very different form of making art. This is art via curation, art via increment. See, now I took out all that colorfulness, but not bad, not bad, but ordinary, yeah, but ordinary. Okay. Anyway, so it's just fun stuff, little different that, we might not expect always. Yeah. And it's just a different way of looking at things. What do you think, Norma? What do you think? What do you think? Where's my, I want to get here. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay. We're going to continue reading. We're going to continue reading. Beena is going to grace us with a marvelous, wonderful reading, which is always a joy. Let me move this. What do you think, Norma? What do you think? Let me refresh to see in case Norma's left comments there and I haven't seen them. I'm curious to know what you think. I always hear Lisa. I always hear Lisa when I make these pictures, because Lisa once said, "Oh yeah, you like." Well, I forget the exact comment, but she was implying I'm biased towards beauty in the pictures that I said that I chose. And I had to explain to Lisa, not really, but when it comes to choosing art, it's very hard to find attractive art that has women in it that aren't particularly beautiful. Very hard to find. Yeah? And also, to me, when I see goodness, I see many, many examples of what I find beautiful that aren't conventionally beautiful, right? Because I see the goodness, the moreness, yeah. And that's what I'm looking for in Biella, really. Yes. I mean, she's not necessarily a conventional supermodel. She's not conventionally ugly either, but how can she be ugly with that kind of character and personality? It's not possible. It shows at some point. It shows at some point, right? And that's where those Pixar cartoons were really powerful. Doesn't matter what you physically look like, the cartoons picked up the underlyingness of who you are inside. It was really quite amazing, the algorithm, that they could do that. It was very, very brilliant. Very well done. Very well done. So you responding to the innerness. All right. All right. I'm keen to hear from you, Norma. I'm keen to hear from you. We're going to read. Will you please read, Beena?
Okay. Okay.
Chapter 22. That's where we're at.
Yes. Positive insistence. How do we remain positive when so much negativity surrounds us in our world? Wow. Simple but a profound question.
Excellent question. Excellent question.
Yes. Okay.
Excellent question.
Dear Judy, yes, yes. We remain positive by being realistic. Yes, this seems counterintuitive, but it's a matter of having an actual, real, appropriate perspective. Okay, okay. Perspective that takes everything into account.
Mm, mm, mm.
Okay. Dear Judy, we remain positive by being realistic. Yes, this seems counterintuitive, but it's a matter of having an actual, real, appropriate perspective that takes everything into account.
Yeah, yeah.
Need to be fair to the world. Let's take the matter before the courts of conscience, here in our innermost being, where we have to be utterly honest and accurate, where we have to be scrupulously fair, where we have to balance everything and take all of what's involved into account. Here we can come to a determination about our continued positivity.
Wow.
First item, relative amounts. When you say so much negativity, what do you mean exactly? Assuming you mean quantity, we have to inquire if this also applies to percentage. Understanding and being aware of the difference helps us gain appropriate perspective. $1 million is not is a lot of money, but as a percentage of the world's money, it's a small fraction. Just so with negativity, it may be a lot relative to nothing, but it's a tiny amount relative to all the positivity that exists.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's a big deal.
Second,
This is a very big deal. This relative amounts, right? To understand this. Yeah.
yes. Second item, attention and appreciation. What do we notice? What are you noticing? We notice what stands out, what catches our attention. I guess that R needs to be emphasized. I don't know, but okay, I feel that because the attention is no. Okay, leave it.
Yeah, yeah, no, no,
What
no, no,
catches
no.
our
I
attention?
like that. What catches our attention? That's very important.
Yes,
It's a good, because what is it? What stands out for me doesn't necessarily stand out for you. So yeah, no, good emphasis there,
exactly.
Beena. Very good. Very good.
Okay.
Yeah,
What catches our attention? We are drawn to the dramatic, the impactful, the negative stands out typically because it's different, unusual, not actually because it's common. Let's look closely at what surrounds us. If I look around me, I have my house starting here. I look at everything. Is there anything negative in my space, about my surroundings, happening in my house? If we exclude people in general, most homes are positives in themselves. It's so on. Simply things, yes, but all positive.
hang on. You skipped the sentence there.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
if we
It's
exclude
positive.
people in general,
Yeah,
most
that's why I
homes
was
are.
not getting it. Like, okay, what doesn't making any sense in me? Okay.
Yeah,
So it was my bad. Okay, I'm reading this paragraph again. So
yeah,
let's look closely at what surrounds us. If I look around me, I have a house starting here. I look at everything. Is there anything negative in my space, about my surroundings, happening in my house? If we exclude people, in general, most homes are positive in themselves. It's positive that we have a bed, blankets, we have clothes, we have a bathroom, kitchen, food, and so on. Simple things, yes, but all positive. Nothing about the facts of the existence of our house stands out. It's not dramatic, sensational, and thus we tend to overlook that simple positivity. Same as we tend to overlook the simple positivity of nature, of life in general. That positivity is just there, not
yeah,
dramatic, not sensational, but it's still there. If we pay more attention, we connect to the all of life, not just that which stands out. By doing this, we connect to appreciation, which we can use to leverage our perspective, allowing us to perceive positivity and negativity in appropriate proportion.
yeah.
That's the
I
key.
agree. Appropriate needs to be italicized. Yeah, in appropriate proportion. I mean, how much don't we take this positivity that's around us all the time, right? The simple thing that you've got cupboards. I'm just looking up. I got cupboards all around, like storage. You might live in a place where you're just in a box and you got no storage. If you've lived without storage, you'll realize how important storage is. It makes a big difference, right? Simple
Yes,
things, simple things, simple things, simple things. Third item, proportion.
yes,
Remember the question. The question was,
yes.
how do we, how do we remain? How do we, how? Sorry?
Okay. Third item, proportion. Make a list, an actual list of everything surrounding you that's positive. Add absolutely everything you are happy to have in your life, that you are thankful for, that you enjoy, like, and which in some way adds to your life, no matter how small.
Yeah,
Start with
okay,
the immediate.
let's take my cupboards again, right? I mean, these are just storage closets that are up above me, right? And
Yes,
they, like next to the ceiling and the wall, right? And okay, the closet itself, but get a little bit more detailed, right? That the closet has a door to it, or a closure, or a lid, you could say. Yeah. Okay, that's very good. But also that lid has a knob on it, a handle that allows me to open that. Yes. And it's got hinges. It
Yes.
could be a lid that's just a piece of wood that's stuck there. Yeah. See what I mean?
Yes.
It has a
Yes.
finish to it. It's not raw with splinters. So much we take for granted. One little simple thing in that closet, and already I've got a whole bunch of stuff in there. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Incredible. Incredible stuff when we really just pay attention. Proportion, in other words. Keep going. Keep going.
Yes. There is an incredible amount of positivity
Oh,
in the
oh,
world.
oh, I didn't hear that. Hang on, hang on. Start with your immediate surroundings and expand outwards. Keep going until you run out of energy. It will be a long list.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't hear that. You probably read it, but I didn't hear it. I mean, this is very
No,
key.
no, no.
Yeah.
I assume that. I just read
Uh,
till start with your immediate
okay.
surroundings.
No, keep going until you run out of energy. This the whole point of this exercise is to overwhelm your brain with positivity because they now seeing the world negative, right? Because the brain has been shaped to notice negativity, right? So this is very key, right? We are re-emphasizing the mundane that's positive. Simply because it's mundane doesn't make it any less valuable. Like the knobs on my closet, very mundane, but very positive, right? Take those knobs off and see what happens. How are you going to open those things? So see, it's a pain. Yeah. Please keep going, Bean. Please keep going.
Yes. Okay. There is an incredible amount of positivity in the world. We simply have to notice it, pay attention to it all. That's the key to remaining positive. Not to ignore or disregard the negativity, but to place it in appropriate proportion to the positive. We have to notice what's not particularly noticeable.
Yeah.
We have to let go of
Yeah.
focusing only on what stands out, what's dramatic. We have to realize it stands out because it's the exception, not the rule. We overlook positivity because it isn't newsworthy
Yeah.
or doesn't connect to our fears. We can't let those dominate our perspective. We have to learn to see all of life, and life itself is positive.
Yes.
Things as a whole get better despite temporary appearances of the contrary, to the contrary.
Yes. Yes. Now ask the average policeman, policewoman, police person. Yes. Ask
Yeah.
them what they do on a daily basis. Yeah. And
Mhm.
if you actually follow them along and you do ride-alongs, for the most part, what they are dealing with is dealing with complaints. Yes. Now, okay, you've
Yes.
got some complaint, but do how often does the actual typical police person in driving around in the cruiser go and respond to like crimes, like break in or a fire or stuff like that? It's actually fairly rare, right? On a day-to-day basis. On a day-to-day basis, what they are going to be mostly doing is responding to problems where people are interacting with each other in a problematic way. Yes. Somebody's doing something bad in your store, you don't want them to leave, there's an argument, stuff like that, right? Domestic disputes of some kind. This is the bread and butter of what the typical policeman does. In other words, negative interaction between people. Okay, right?
Yes.
Now, now, when that policeman, yes, and on a daily basis, let's say they respond to 100 calls. That would be a lot, right? I mean, just in a matter of time, right? But let's just say, for argument's sake, 100 calls. How many positive interactions in that community were there that they were not responding to because it would be inappropriate? Tens of thousands, tens of thousands. See? Its proportion is
Yes.
so small, but we notice it to call the cops. Yeah, I mean, you don't call the cops for positive stuff, but think about that, right? Think about that. Yeah. Maybe we should have, okay. Just it's astonishing to me when you put this ratio together. All right, please keep going, Beena. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Item 4, trust. We need also to trust in trust.
Yeah.
Here I mean capital T trust, the trust which is a power, a trust that transcends us, a trust which connects us to the best of ourselves, a trust which leverages the goodness of the world. We thus have to trust in goodness itself. We have to trust that despite noticeable exceptions, the vast majority of human beings are good, are
Yeah.
positive, and
Yeah.
wish to improve the world and all that's in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When we actually look around, look at all the people actively working to make the world a better place, making constant efforts to deal with problems, those exceptions create or just improve because this is a good thing to do. We have much to base our trust on.
Yeah.
We remain positive by paying attention to all the goodness, by noticing all the goodness, by keeping the goodness and positivity of the world as a whole, of life
Yeah.
in general,
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
of life in general, in the forefront of our awareness. We stay positive while leveraging our perspective by keeping matters in appropriate proportion. Where it is going now. Okay. And by choosing to believe in the goodness, creativity.
Yeah.
And what is the pronunciation for that? Ingenuity?
Ingenuity. Ingenuity.
Ingenuity. Okay. Thank you. Cre- uh, Sorry. And by choosing to believe in the goodness, creativity, ingenuity, and overall intent of people and the world to continue move in a positive direction and to not allow negativity to dominate.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for reading the in.
Yes.
See, I was reading up here because I was busy making this, because I was thinking as you went through this, wow, emphasis. I'm talking about emphasis, but I'm not pointing it out. So that's why I made this last one. Emphasized emphasis. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
And I
doesn't
heard you,
really.
while my eyes weren't reading along with you, but I heard you read in, and oh, where's that? Where's that? And then I fixed it. So thank you. Yeah, yeah, for doing that. Very
It
helpful.
doesn't really.
Yeah.
It only seems so. We just have to make the effort to remember all the positivity. And really, if we look at the negativity in terms of learning and awareness, it's good for motivation, good for showing us what we need to deal with, what needs to change, what we need to work on. So even the negativity is positive in those ways. We
Oh,
remain positive by insisting on positivity and appreciation. In this way, we develop unrelenting positivity.
yeah,
Biella.
yeah. In this way, we develop unrelenting positivity. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very cool. So I'll put in perspective. We want to emphasize our emphasis and perspective. Yes, look at things differently. Very powerful. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. To 23. I like that. Very simple. Very, very simple. Now, this is very interesting that we had, can belief be regained, which was had that negative vibe, and then so to remain positive. And now we have the next one here, which is again on the same theme, right? Which I thought was very interesting. And they came about completely independent of each other. It's not like the same person asking the two questions, right? It's a thing. So you see, again, these are the pictures that I want to now change, yeah, and replace with ones that we made. Now, they're not all necessarily going to be that kind of close-up face. I want pictures like this, so I have to find a different prompt, woman looking out over a landscape or something like that, right? Yeah. Okay. Positive failure.
Yes. Okay. What is a good example of turning a negative, okay, turning a negative into a positive?
Turning a
Yeah,
negative
Ash.
situation into a positive.
Oh, sorry, sorry. Okay, let me read it again. What is a good example of turning a negative situation into a positive?
Now, this is really interesting, right? Because at the end of the last chapter, right, Biella
Yes.
says she's talking there about the right. If we look at the negativity in terms of learning and awareness, it's good for motivation and good for showing us what we need to deal with. Right, the negativity is good
Yes.
for right what needs to change, what we need to work with. So well, there's Biella turning a negative into a positive, but not necessarily a negative situation, but still. Now, the person reading this might say, yeah, but give me an example, Biella, give me an example, right?
Yes.
And yeah, the question is, what's a good example of turning a negative situation? They want real specifics here. So I thought that was just the universe helping out. This was kind of cool, right? To get this precisely after the previous one, right?
Yes.
Wow, wow,
Yes.
wow, wow. Exciting. Oh, exciting. Yeah, 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 yeah. Very good indeed. Very good indeed.
We have someone here?
We do. We do. But keep reading. Keep reading.
Okay. Okay. Whoever
When they
it
say hello,
is.
we'll say hello back
Yes.
whenever they say hello. I don't know when that will
Okay.
be, but we'll just
Okay.
wait and see. Hello, hello, wherever
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah. Hello.
Ah,
Hello.
it's Sher. Hello, Sher.
Sure.
Hello, Sher.
Hello, Sure.
Hi.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys-
Hey.
There.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's good. Good. That's
Oh,
anyway good.
I'm thrilled. We just reading Biella's. Were you watching earlier? Oh,
A little bit earlier, and then I had to jump off.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. No, I was just curious on your perspectives on the faces. If you saw some of the art that we were busy creating for the Biella book, did you see or not?
Yeah, I did. I saw there was like four of them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
was going through a whole bunch, yeah. But they come up in groups of four, yeah. And then, to say which ones work and which ones don't, and figure
Uh-huh.
them out, yeah. Just to like book appropriate. The
Yes.
one we're going to use for the cover is a very particular one, and I haven't found any unless when I use that as a prompt. I haven't quite gotten that exact look yet. No, it's very
Okay.
cool. Very cool. Very cool. I think actually, hang on a second. This is what I was showing. Uh, and
But then you did some in drawings.
yeah, see, yeah, some examples of I put this into for book covers. It's called 99 Designs, and they do
Uh-huh.
it a little differently, right? And you put in what you want, and you put in your title. They ask you a whole bunch of titles, subtitle, and all this stuff, and then they give you like uh, options to choose from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And different people. Like so far, I this is two people, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
which is really interesting to see how they come up with it. And I showed them my previous ones, the first book 1 and book 2, because this is book 3 and 4 that I'm making book. Yeah. So this one just ignores the full title, right? The full title is Ask Biella Questions Answered, book 1. This guy doesn't put in questions answered. No, it's like, hello.
Oh.
Yeah. And also,
Okay.
to use black, I mean, it's a positive book for heaven's sake, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks very striking. It catches your attention. But this guy, I would have recommended like to see their picture, but full like this, right, where you can see it more.
Right.
You lose a bit of it, but you see
Yeah.
the picture is very powerful, and the white doesn't work as well. It's too insipid, right?
I like the yellow.
Now Beena said when she saw this, she said, "Oh, it would be nice to have Biella in a different font." And I said, "That's quite unusual to make a title where the font is where you have differences fonts in the title of the book." But yes, your answer, Beena.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like the yellow. And that also
Yeah,
because it's
I do
the whole
too.
thing.
I do too.
I
I'm
like the
surprised. I'm
I
surprised.
like the title, the way that is.
Yeah,
That looks
yeah,
nice.
yeah,
I
yeah.
would buy it. if I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
browsing through a store and saw that, it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah. My only problem that I have here is the questions answered book 1 needs to be a little bigger. Yes. And
Yeah.
Ask Biella can go up, and this subtitle, I feel like this is better. Yes.
Mhm.
To see it more. It's lost down here. It totally becomes a waste of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
this, my name doesn't have to be so big. I don't really care about that. Book 3 of the realism series, that again doesn't have to be very prominent. And, this, and I kind of like that they put this waviness there, Beena. Sure. You
Yeah.
like that
Yes.
too?
I
I
do
do like
too.
that. I do like that. And what I like with this guy is that I'm impressed that they showed me these variations. They didn't just show one, that they made a
Hmm.
point to show that they can do different. And I do like that. I do like that. And look here too, you see the bottom is not quite straight. Yeah.
Right.
I like that. But I feel like this can come just lower down a little bit. Ask Biella can go up, questions answered a little bigger. And then the subtitle like this in the 2 lines can be over there
Hmm.
as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fine. But this face, I mean, that look, I just is, I was looking at these prompts and it came about anomalously. And boy, I tried to get variations on this a bit more zoomed out. Nothing doing, nothing doing, nothing doing. I've
Yeah.
gotten other variations on it where it's the same thing, but just in a different art style. Yes.
Hmm.
Where some I could possibly use. But I did want it with a little bit more of a smile, not quite so stern, but that it just has to be. It just has to be. No nonsense here.
Yeah.
Now in the answers, Biella's much softer than this look implies. This is like you're going to hear the awful truth here now, whether you like it or not, right?
Hmm.
But there's actually very little of that in the articles, in the responses. But I'm
Right.
really liking this for the cover. I mean, it's
Huh?
really powerful, right? And we're getting closer. I mean, this is almost good to go as it is now, right? A little bit of tweaking.
Mhm.
So we'll see. There's 2 or 3 more days to go. Typically I think the maximum we can get 30 people responding. So that's kind of nice that you get to choose. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, how it is with making the book covers. It's a big deal. Now, I did
Yes.
say it was for paperback as well. So none of these are showing the full book cover. You need to see the back and the spine and all that, right? Because
Right.
actually, I don't
Right.
know if you've made for paperback, to make those covers is a big rigmarole. You have to know the number
Hmm.
of pages to get it exactly right because it determines the width of the spine. And uh, you know what I did see? They asked if you want a little tiny thumbnail on the spine of the cover photo. I haven't seen that before. I thought, man, yeah, that'd be great, especially this powerful one, right? But that's a very good idea. Yeah, to include a
Wow.
little tiny thumbnail of the cover photo
That
or
is
any
interesting.
thumbnail on the spine. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. That's
So
interesting.
just fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very interesting. Very different. Very different. All right. Anyway, so this I thought was very cool to show, that this is a cool book. The black, of course, it's very dramatic, but I feel it sets the wrong tone. Yes.
Hmm.
and and I like this personally. I like this color, but I was saying to Beena in the fonts, like to instead of black, to take this blue right, from that and make it a darker blue, and then to do the fonts in like that yellow there, and this it's not quite white, it's like an off-white, right? In other words, to use colors from this for the fonts, because essentially you've got 3 colors that you need to determine: the background, and then the title and the subtitle, right? A variation
Hmm.
there. Now, yeah, they've sort of used the same color for all of them, but I do like the differentiated colors, right? You see here they're differentiating it a little bit, but that's a very good font for the name. That's very cool. Yeah. All right. It's very interesting that Beena said that, and there you get it, Beena. Yeah. Right, Beena?
Where'd she go?
Yes, 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 I'm
Yeah.
here.
Isn't that interesting that you got what you asked for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, what do you think of it, Sher? Do you have
What's
different
that?
font?
What do I think of the book covers?
Yeah, the different font and the title.
I like the different font. I think it makes it pop. I see her name. If you look at it, to me, if it was all the same, it would be boring. I really wouldn't be that attracted to the book.
Yeah.
But because there's emphasis on her name, that drew
Yes.
my attention. And then the color, yellow itself, demands
Yes.
attention, demands emphasis. So that really worked too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those 2 points alone, just the different font and then the color, that in itself would make me pick up the book and want to
Yeah.
see what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
I know.
is
That,
what
that's half the battle.
When Beena said that, I said, I'd be surprised if it can work because, typically books don't have different fonts within the title. Yes, for title, subtitle, author, that yes, but not within the
Mhm.
title. So, not that I was against the idea, but I was like, I'd be surprised. But
But your
this
title is,
designer, they chose the absolute right font for Biella. It's
yeah,
excellent.
yes.
but
I
your,
I want to I want to keep this absolutely. I want to
yeah,
keep.
but
Okay. Okay, why
if you look,
I was saying that because
Yeah.
for me that's Ask Biella. In totality, in entirety, Ask Biella is a title. Not
Yeah.
yes,
just Ask. This is also a title.
Yeah.
And Biella itself is a title.
hmm,
Ask
That's very
Biella.
good thinking,
the
Beena.
whole
Very, very
subject.
discerning. Very discerning.
Ask and then
Yeah.
Biella.
Yeah.
Ask Biella.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I was
Very
saying. It's a
interesting.
title on its own. It may be
Yeah.
short. Most
Yeah.
titles,
Yeah.
if you look, though, are really long, lengthy
Yeah.
titles.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
try to describe the whole book
Right.
in the title.
Right. Right. Now,
Um,
now look what I'm doing here. You want to avoid doing this. Don't look at it close up because it distorts your perspective. The on Amazon, which mostly where I'm going to be selling this, or any other book places, you're not going to see it close up like this. You
mhm.
will when you click on it, but if somebody's clicking on it, they've already liked the small version, yeah. And the small version is what gets them to click. Once they've clicked, they're already there. They're not going to
Right.
dislike it all of a sudden, right? It's more of the same. So you need to have it be nice and look good, small. Now look at something that's very important here. When you do click, you notice something that well, okay, these are rough and they're doing it quickly, but it's very important. Too much blank space. Yeah. See? This is a
Yeah.
bit cramped down here, and this is too spacious here. It's not balanced. It's not proportionalized, right? So for me personally, in my artistic sensibilities, I will move this up, without changing any of the designs, simply proportion. And this needs to be moved up. The face must be moved up, and this must be spread out a little bit, right? Just to get your overall space balance right. To me, I always look like when we made all the slides for all the different programs, right? When putting
Mhm.
all those elements in there, this amount of open space, you need to balance it appropriately, right? Now, if you want to leave this, you can maybe put some little bit of design in there, little flowers or something, little circles like this, very faint, yes, to fill up that space.
Mhm.
But leaving it like this is too much, yeah. But I
Right.
would suspect that this designer will tell you the same thing, and that it was just a quick thing, right? Because this is very unusual that it's so quick. Plus, Sabastian, the font here is too spread out. There's too many spaces between the letters. Yeah,
Well, yeah, there
too
is.
stretched out, right?
Looks a little
Yeah,
strange.
yeah.
Mhm.
And same thing, book 3. So again, I feel that was just because they were in a hurry. But the point I want to make is, yes, look at the thing zoomed in, but your title must look good small. It mustn't look
Mhm.
bad big, but it's got to look good small. And for
Right.
me, when it's like this, because you got to keep in mind, if you go to Amazon, when you scrolling, where are you typically seeing these? You're seeing it, you're scrolling down. Oh, other books like this. You like the book, you bought it, and similar books, they're recommended. And you see 6 different little icons, thumbnails of books at the bottom, right? That's where you're
Uh-huh.
typically seeing it. And you're seeing it in connection with other books. Even if you do a search, okay, let's say you look for, life advice, you're going to get a whole page full of thumbnails. Yeah. You got to be able
Yeah.
to stand out. Now, yes, the black will make you stand out, but I don't want the black negative message. Yes. So this look will make this book stand out. No matter what you do, as long as this is on the cover, it's going to stand out, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly right. What we wanted is exactly right. Yeah, I'm a little harsh, but that's me personally. I wanted it a little softer, but I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it. I tried and tried and tried. And eventually I'm saying, up, the universe is saying, yeah, you go. Right? Because when I do variations and alternatives, they usually show you more or less the same, like when I was doing this. Okay. Well, these ones I changed the style, but in this style, you see what I mean? They more or less the same. You see what I mean? There's a lot of similarity when
Yeah,
you're asking for a repeat. But when I tried to get variations on that face,
see,
none of them were
that
even
one you like.
close. They weren't even close. They weren't even close. So I said, I tried to say, because you can put in a picture prompt and then have variations on that. At least in the software that I was using, they didn't even come close. They didn't even come close to that same look. I couldn't get it with a little bit of a smile on there, little softer, little gentler, little kinder. No, it went completely different. And then they didn't show it looking like that and everything. Eyes weren't clear. So here were some nice ones in this that we found. And
Mhm.
and I was just saying, when you make art like this, people say, oh yeah, the computer's making all the art. No, you got to do a lot. This one's nice. You got to really like persist and put in your prompts. And this one has negative prompts. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get what you want. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
There's a key. There's a key, or a version of a key. Yeah.
Mhm.
I imagine a key to be. This one I quite like. This one I like. Yeah. It's a little younger, a little more modern, kind of a bit streetwise.
Mhm.
Biella's not, she's not quite from the street. She's been there, but she doesn't give this vibe of having been there. Right? Whereas this one has that. I don't mean homeless. I mean, like got that street connectivity. Doesn't mean that they're living on the street, but it's just as a vibe. Yeah, like
Yeah.
streetwise a bit. Yes. Which, yes, Biella is streetwise, but you see, this is the difference between the two. This one is it doesn't quite have that street connection, but has that same sobriety, sensitivity, thoughtfulness, insightfulness, caring. Yes, moreness. Yeah. It's very hard. It's very hard to find, at least those that represent Biella. Now, many of these pictures I'm going to use in the articles, not necessarily. I'm not looking for cover necessarily, right?
Right.
And they don't need to represent Biella. They just need to represent the reader as well, to some extent. Yes, at least a connectivity the to Biella, but also as a reader, right? So like
Right.
this may be a reader, but it's a bit disconnected from the vibe and the mood and the spirit of how Biella's sharing, right? So
Right.
all of those in the story, I want to have some representation to Biella, which is why this one works, but not this. Yeah, I mean, they're very close. You say, what's the difference? Look closely and you'll see the difference, right? This one has that conventional ordinariness, pretty attractive woman. This one, I've got myself together a little bit, yes. But I'm not smug.
Mhm.
I'm not self-satisfied either. Yes. I mean, this one has in the eyes, you see there's a little bit of not full independence of being or full confidence of being, yes. This one's not
Yes.
overconfident, but they're happy with who they are. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So tiny, tiny difference. Do you see what I'm saying or not? Or is it just me? Maybe
Mhm.
my
I
perception.
know. I do.
Yeah, yeah. It's small. It's small stuff that you don't consciously recognize. But when I point it
Mhm.
out, you start to see it. Yes. Um,
Yeah.
this one is okay, but again, that little bit of, I don't know. It's a very common thing that you see, and the AI brings this up very commonly because when you look at, celebrities and that, you see that look very often, right? Um,
Mhm.
some of it's a little bit too innocent, where people get the negativity of cheerful optimism. Well, you're not quite there yet, but you're heading in that direction, right? Eh,
Yeah.
Negative cheerful optimism, toxic
Yeah.
optimism, they call it a little bit. And this one is, where you see this look where you get women are looking to be strong and they're looking to be assertive and authoritative, but they don't quite have that innerness of it. So
Right.
they're fronting just a little bit. It's very slight, right? Very slight,
Mhm.
but you're not quite where you want to be again. And again we get that bit of, yes,
Yeah.
you got your stuff together, but also a bit innocent, but naive. And, am I going to trust you with a really sophisticated, complex problem? You have a sophistication to you, but yeah, you know.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, very interesting. I'm being very
It,
fiddly here. Yes, you might say I'm overly critical, but of course I am. This is Biella we're talking about, right?
yeah.
This
Yeah.
is Biella we're
Exactly.
talking about. Yeah. So it's
Yes.
important stuff to be that precise. And of course, too, when we started, Beena was talking about we think we know. Not in a sense that we're arrogant,
Um,
yes, but and I took that Einstein quote where he says that did you hear about the quote? Did you hear that part or not?
no.
All right, then let me go over it again, right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Right.
Albert E. Yeah. Now we know this quote. Yes, very good quote. Very powerful
Hmm.
quote. It's been around for a while and you see it regularly all the time. It
Hmm.
is a good quote. However, the point that Beena was referring to and the bigger picture is that we think we know and we trust our knowing. We see a quote like this and we stop. Oh, that's a good quote. Yeah. And we accept it as being complete. It's not. It's not.
No, it's
This
not.
quote is very often absolutely, utterly incorrect. Okay, I joke and I said, this is in the time before the computers, really. If Albert has lived today, I, on a daily basis, do the same thing over and over and I expect a different result. Yeah. Okay, look, when you come on Zoom, sure, how many times haven't you come on Zoom and then your sound isn't working? And you leave and
Uh-huh.
you come right back and then your sound works.
Yes.
You did the same thing over and over and you got a different result. Yeah. With computers, it's very common. Yeah. It's very common.
Yeah.
And you would think of all things, computers should do things the same every time. No, they don't, right? So if we've dealt with computers enough, this doesn't apply to computers. So in this case, Albert is wrong. Okay. You might say, yeah, but all right, or whatever. But still, when we take this in human behavior, right? I was saying, who reads romance novels? Nobody puts their hands up, but of course they all do because it's the biggest category of books, right? Romance by far the biggest category of all. Yeah. So everybody reads romance novels. Nobody acknowledges it.
No, I
Right?
No,
don't.
not everybody. Not everybody.
I
I do
know.
not.
I know. I'm
Exactly.
joking. I'm joking about it. I'm joking. I'm joking. Right. When I say everybody, it's everybody in quotation marks. Right. I know not
Okay.
everybody, but still, they're very popular. Now, my point I'm making is, what is the typical plot in a romance novel? Yes, the the,
Boy
the
meets
boy or the
girl.
girl sees the one, and they don't like them. This and they keep trying. They keep trying, and eventually the one that is the target kind of changes their mind, and they get together. Right. I mean, it's a
Right.
very common trope and a common theme of the young man, and he's trying this and he's trying that to impress the girl, and she doesn't want to know nothing. She thinks he's a jerk, and she tells him to get lost. But eventually, he succeeds, and they get together. This is what makes the story, correct?
Hmm.
Well, according to Einstein's absolute insanity. We might say, well, all right, they are being a bit insane in the beginning, but it's insanity that actually yields positive results, right? So this is not. It does not necessarily make us insane. But then we go a little bit further, right? So let's read that quote again. And I'm getting to a point of changing our thinking to not assume we know. And to be very careful, because when we read that quote of Einstein, we nod and we realize it for its sensibility and we stop there. Just because something is sensible doesn't mean it's always sensible. Yes. And it's
Right.
not depending on the context. And that's why we need to go further, right? So now I'm going to read the two quotes together and you're going to see what I mean. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Albert E. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is exactly the essence of unbending intent. So S.
Unbending intent.
Unbending intent. Yes. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is exactly the essence of unbending intent. Yes. I made the example of calling a phone box, a call box, right? I don't know if they still exist anymore or not, but you remember the days of call boxes, right? Sure. And
Uh-huh.
you could
Yes.
actually call them, right? You knew that, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
Now, I've seen call boxes ringing, and I've been the recipient of calling to a call box, and I think I've also called call boxes. Yeah, but I've seen it happen where you're in the street and the call box is ringing, right? You've seen this in movies too, and people look at it. But
Right.
have you seen it in real life, actually? Sure, have you witnessed it or not?
No, just when
No.
I asked for somebody to call me back.
Oh, all right, right. But still, it's fascinating though when you see that phone ringing and people look and like, what's going on, and they just ignore it and they get very unsure. And if it rings and
Uh-huh.
rings and rings, eventually somebody goes and picks it up, right? And some boy's
Right.
curious, right? But now think of your
Uh-huh.
unbending intent, or just intent in general. Isn't an intent, when you put out an intent, isn't it like making a call and you hoping and expecting and wanting the universe to pick up? Yeah. The,
Yeah.
the universe isn't
Yeah.
always around. It isn't always around. So you got to keep ringing, keep ringing, keep ringing until it happens to be that the universe comes by and picks it up. Yes. Unbending intent. See? Make sense?
Okay. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right? I mean, you're doing the same thing. You're putting your intent out and nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. But you keep putting it out, expecting a different result with your intent. Yes?
Right.
See? That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the essence of unbending intent. Because otherwise, you'd never get your intent anyway, because how often do you put an intent out and you immediately get results? Very seldom. It happens occasionally, like it
Very
happened
small.
earlier. I
Right.
wouldn't say Beena had an intent to see the Biella name differently, but an implied intent, and we got it fairly immediately. It wasn't right that
Oh,
second.
yes.
It was like a
Yes.
half an hour later or whatever, but it was there. Yeah. Does that make sense, though, Sher, about this point of
Yes.
unbending
Yeah.
intent?
Yeah. Now it does.
Right. So no, I don't want to get too stuck on the point about unbending intent necessarily. I
Uh-huh.
want to be more on the point that Beena started with, this thing about we feel like we know. When we develop a bit of awareness, we start to recognize sensibility and sobriety. We recognize the value of Albert's quote. However, we have to be careful. We not only must use perspective shifting to solve problems, but we must use perspective shifting also when it comes to sobriety and sensibility, like on Albert's quote. We need to perspective shift on
Mhm.
it. Therefore, we see it in, oh, yes, it applies in certain contexts, but does it apply in all contexts? No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Not even
No.
close. And it's such a great example because we know this quote and we've accepted it as a default for pretty much all situations. We didn't even realize we were generalizing it. Yes, we didn't even realize.
Right.
But when we really, wow, oh, okay. And that's where moreness comes in. See, I'm sharing the moreness of perspective shifting on Albert's quote. Don't assume you know. Don't assume you know, even though it makes sense. Yes, it does, but it's contextual. Everything is contextual, right?
Mhm.
Perspective shift on everything, in other words. Very, very, very potent. Very, very powerful. Yes?
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yes.
Do you feel like reading a bit, sir?
No, because I'm on my phone and it's really tiny. So
Right. That's right. That's
I,
right. That's right. Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
don't want to do that to my
Right.
brain. No.
All right. So what we're busy doing, this is the book, right? Ask Biella. There's all the chapters. We've been reading them on the lives. I don't know, maybe you probably heard already. So we're on
Uh-huh.
chapter 23. Because this also helps me to edit, right? You know,
Uh-huh.
what Beena was doing, and in the last chapter when she read there was a place where I'd said in twice. So Beena's also practicing to read those mistakes, because when you're reading and you see in, you just skip the second in and you make the correction
Yes.
automatically. But I asked
Right.
Biella specifically to read the mistakes because I was looking elsewhere. I was busy changing a heading, so I wasn't reading along with her. And when she said in, I was, and my ear heard it, and I went and fixed it. Yeah. So this
Yeah.
to hear from an editing point of view, very, very valuable. But it's a good skill. It's difficult to do.
It sounds
So
like it.
Norma, yes, I'm glad you're here for the sound. It's emphasizing emphasis. Yes. In other words, in that last point there, uh, when we are looking to the question was, how do we remain positive when the world is so much negativity around of us? We need to emphasize emphasis itself. In other words, we need to emphasize positivity. And I use the example of just my cupboards being something very positive that we tend to not even think of as positive. And my cupboards, they have doors to them, and they've got hinges, and they've got knobs on them, and they've been polished and lacquered, and all little tiny things, all positive. But we don't notice this in our daily lives because we don't emphasize it. But when we start to emphasize that, it raises our connectivity to it, right? And then the proportionality of negative to positive shifts. There's an overwhelmingly much more positive than negative. Just take nature, right? Yes, there's negative stuff in nature, but it's overwhelmingly positive, right? But we forget that. We only notice the exceptions. See, because those exceptions, because they're newsworthy and dramatic, right, they get emphasized, but it's inappropriate emphasis. Therefore, we need to emphasize emphasis so that we can understand it and use it positively. Right? So anyway, I was answering Norma's questions. Get Sher to read some more from your books. Such a lovely voice. Yes, I was trying to do that before I saw your question, Norma. We are on the same track.
Yes.
But Sher's on the phone, and it's small and it's tricky to read. So I would love it. I love Sher's reading, and I enjoy it when she reads her own stuff. But it's not always ideal, unfortunately, right? So
Yeah.
we'll just have to settle for Beena, unfortunately.
Yes.
I'm just teasing Beena. Beena knows I love her voice and her reading
Oh,
too.
no,
It's a
no
great
problem.
joy.
No
It's a
problem.
great joy.
I know. So no. Yes,
All
because
right.
I also love that when Cher reads.
Yes.
She has that storytelling
Yes.
voice and
Yes.
vibe to
Yes.
her. So
Yes.
this
Yes.
is something
Yes.
I really enjoy.
And I do want to say that your Pixar, sure, I really love that. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
that's a
yeah.
lot of fun. That's a lot of
But
fun.
I told you, I said that you have so much joy in you, and that joy is, I feel, is somewhat unnoticed they don't really recognize it as such. And it's a big quality. It's a very powerful thing. And what the Pixar pulled that up, you could really see that joy.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was cool. It
Yeah.
really was. It's kind of cool application that you have there.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Oh, that was
Oh
great.
yes.
That was very cool. That was
Oh
very
yes.
cool.
Oh
Yeah.
yes. Oh yes. Before I start reading, just wanna make some a bit to add a bit more into that what I was sharing about not knowing that we assume that okay we know. I was saying that it is yes we assume also, but we just stay there when we know something.
There
And
you
that
go.
is the real
Exactly.
thing that the nuance was there that okay
Yeah. Yeah.
to not okay yes you might know okay we all know a lot of things thanks to technology and thanks to our experiences in life that we
Mm.
know a lot more than previous generation. Okay, we can say that we know a lot. We have, of course, a lot of
Yeah.
information. We have a lot of
Uh-huh.
knowledge also. But the problem is comes for me at least. And this was a question also I was asking where and why we need way of impeccability and moreness project in our life.
Mm.
So for my answer for myself and from myself was there when we need structured awareness.
Mm.
That is the real difference between the knowledge and of course the information we have and awareness also. When we need structured awareness in our lives to make real progress, we all are learning and growing, no matter we are doing it deliberately or not, no matter it is doing at what speed and whatever. We might be growing. Of
Yeah.
course, we all are growing, no matter we accept it, acknowledge it, and being aware of it or not. We
Yeah.
all are
Mhm.
growing, we all are learning. But when it comes to really structured learning and growing, to have structured awareness, to make progress in life,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there we need this way of impeccability and moreness project. And that was
Exactly.
something I was saying that
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
this is the most common expression we used to
Mhm.
have and we still have that when people when we share something when of course when Sil is was sharing something with anyone they say yes I know, and of course they know, they are not lying, of course
Yeah.
they're not assuming anything, they
Yeah.
know But the problem is that the connection, the connectivity with the other concept in life to make or to have a structured awareness in our life, that is missing. And to make it there, we already know we
Yes.
have to use
Yes.
already know stuff and put it in one structure to build something to really progress in life. That was the thing I was sharing, because it was a
Yes.
Oh,
nuancing and
Yes.
that was a question I had in my mind for myself. That's why I was keen to
Yes.
share that.
Yes. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. In other words, progress here is the moving into moreness. Yes.
Yes.
We don't need to have moreness in our lives, but when we have it, it's very hard to not enjoy it and not appreciate it, not get value. But we need to have that mindset that there can be moreness. That was my point about Albert's quote. It gives us a lot, but don't assume it's complete. Don't assume there isn't moreness to it. There is. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Very handy. Very handy. Very handy. Very powerful.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right. Listening, Beena. Listening.
Positive failure.
Mm.
What is a good example of turning a negative situation into a positive? Oh, this one we have read already, I guess. No?
We read the
Okay.
question. We didn't read any of that's as
Okay.
far as we got. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
good.
Okay. Dear Ashley, a quote from the young man came up as I was thinking about a particularly good example of turning a negative situation into a positive. There are so many. If we approach so-called failure or mistakes a little differently, we can find persistence, determination, tolerance, patience, and forbearance, to name but a few. After a while of this, there is no failure, just alternative successes. At
Yeah.
one time, the young man and his heart transitioned to a new business. They did their homework, scrupulously researching the new business. It was connected to another company from which their contracts would mainly come. This company they had checked out by a prestigious and expensive law firm, doing everything they could in the circumstances. They were impeccable in their diligence.
Just a little aside
But
here, by the way. You know, in the movies, when you see like they go to the lawyer's office and it's like old school lawyers from way back when, you know, they've been around for centuries and they have those beautiful offices with the wood paneling and all that. These actual offices were like those in the movies. It was quite something to behold.
wow,
Yeah, it was really astonishing. Never forgot that.
yes.
It was quite
But
intimidating in a way as well. It's just really
but
awesome.
nothing came out of that venture. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Beyond exceptional, this utter failure of the new business was remarkable. When their existing finances came to an end, they had nothing. Forced out of their offices and where they lived, a reassessment was needed. They had nothing but their focus on positivity and their insistence on learning and growing.
Yeah.
Looking at the situation objectively, conventionally, they could have accepted the negativity of the situation. They could have retreated from the from the path of independence they had chosen. They could have gone back and started all over again, getting jobs and so on, which in itself is not a negative. But at that time, it would have been a retreat, a going back, a giving up on their dreams of independence.
Yeah.
Altern- okay, oh, you scroll. Alternative objectives. The failure of their business did not to them. Okay, the failure of their business did not to them mean they had to fall in their quest,
Fail in their
their
quest.
path, in their, oh, it's fail. Sorry. I just read it by default. Okay, I need to read it again.
Mm.
Alternative objectives. The failure of their business did not to them mean they had to fail in their quest. Their path, this they refused to do. Thus, they took the lack of business in stride, insisting that it had to be good in some way, a way they did not yet perceive. They utterly refused to see the oddity of that complete lack of business, the total failure of that business. In normal or negative terms, they were determined to turn it into a positive.
Yeah.
Their choices were either to turn back on their path, to give up their dreams, or to take the only option open to them, which was the venture into the unknown.
Which was
Because
to
they
venture
refused to
into the unknown. Yeah, big deal.
because they refused to see the business failure as a negative. It kept them open to opportunity, to possibility. At the time, that option meant selling most of their possessions and hiring two guys with a small moving truck for a one-way trip to a remote farm owned by the young man's father. There was no one there, nothing really except the possibility of continuing on their path. They refused to even consider that this peculiar opening, their only option that did not mean giving in and giving up, was anything but the way to proceed, that it would be positive, positive in ways that could not yet see, but they insisted on trusting that it would be so.
Yeah, just a little bit of context here. I mean, yes, okay, it's not to elaborate on the article, make the article long, but just as a bit of background to add to it, getting to that farm, that when we got there, we had no idea what to expect. We just expected a normal thing, but it was desolate and the roof was blown off. There was no plumbing, no electricity, no water, nothing. I mean, it's about as desolate as you can imagine a place to be. Yeah. And again, you could say this could be a failure of the objective to going there. Like you could have said, oh my goodness, this is terrible. This is no good. We can't live here. And just gone right back again. As a matter of fact, when we unloaded the van, those two movers, every time they took something out of the van, so, are you sure you don't want to go back? We'll take you back for free. They must have said it 100 times. Yeah. But it was the universe to say, no, this is not a failure. And of course, the story, I'm assuming I'm going to mention it later on, that it turned out to be the most incredible thing, right? So we have to be very careful of assigning negativity. We need to learn to see past what supposedly is negative and failure, especially, right? And turn it into positive. Very, very important. Very important. Okay. Embracing the unknown.
Yes. Embracing the unknown. Off they went into the unknown. They took that one-way trip. It ended up being into the desert, to a deserted and long abandoned farm. No
Oh, yeah,
electricity,
it comes.
no phone, no running water, no nothing. The abandoned farmhouse had its roof blown off, only a thin ceiling still in place. Oh my God. Here again, they could have seen this as a failure of choice, but they were determined to turn that odd business failure into a positive. This meant that being there in the desert had to be transformed from the apparent negative, oh, it seemed to be, into a gift.
Yeah, that
Wow.
to be transformed from the apparent negative it seemed to be into a gift, capital G gift. Yeah.
They set about dealing with their new circumstances as best they could, determined to make the best of it. Their adventures there in that wonderful desert are too long and many to recount here. After a while of insisting on turning their potentially negative experiences into positives, they sat down and made a list. They asked themselves, what have we been forced to learn? To them, learning was always positive. Learning and growing was their focus and intent, always phenomenally positive.
The list. Oh my God,
The
that was
list.
so profound. That was so profound.
Okay. My screen is not.
Yeah, it'll be at the top. I just scrolled because of the picture to get you to the
Okay.
top.
Okay. 31 profound lessons made their rigorously compiled list. They were rigorous in making of that list. They focused on lessons which were not only significant but which had actually changed them, many in deep and profound ways, changing them in ways they had not until then
Yeah.
realized needed changing. They had not been in circumstances before where those changes were needed. Wow, that list was a big deal, representing the totality of their insistence on applying positivity and learning. Every item on that list showed a transformation of a negative into a positive,
Yeah.
like dealing with isolation, being alone, handling the profound silence of the desert was another, okay, using the ever-present dangers of living there as a positive for enhancing their awareness. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. If you never
Making the
really
list,
experienced the silence of deserts like that, right? When you first go there, you've been living in the city, and where they'd been living was high rise, very density. There's always sound, right? Always sound. All
yes,
yeah. And suddenly you come to this profound, deep silence. It's shocking. It's a shock to the system. Now, you either learn to be able to deal with that, or you go crazy. Those are your options, right? So this is it can be a negative, or you can deal with it as a positive. Because if you, of course, can transform it into a positive, you acquire independence of being. My mood is not going to be determined by my surroundings. It's going to be determined by me. Yes. So now this was very stressful, very bothersome. Like, but when you turn it around and say, oh, I'm going to take this negative, turn it into a positive, you get incredibleness, right? So that was what that list was. And there's more. Anyway, keep going. Keep going.
making the list itself was massive act of positivity.
Mm,
It brought home to them the fullness of the power of their insist, insistence on turning negatives into positives, and that this practice of theirs was not really an option, but a necessity, yet a choice nonetheless.
mm,
The list represented a confirmation of their life choices, their underlying personal philosophy, and the resulting attitudes and mindsets. Primary among those was the deliberate choice and decision to find the good in everything.
mm,
Next was a confirmation. A few days after the making of that profound listing, a miracle happened. At least in the context it most decidedly seemed so. They were visited. They
mm.
knew no one in the area, had no transport. No one knew they were there, but they received a visitor. Not a random visitor either, but one on a mission to find them. The visitor had been dispatched to make them an offer to come to a mountaintop game ranch next to the desert valley. They were in and set up a restaurant for the guests. Wow.
It's just like miracle, complete and absolute miracle. You're out there in the middle of nowhere with absolutely nothing. The nearest town is 80 miles away. Yeah. And suddenly, yeah, somebody comes not just to visit you. It's okay. If it's a neighbor, okay, we are not, I don't know how they would notice you there. Maybe they saw the truck come in, but we had no car, nothing. So it's not like they could notice anything. I don't know. It's too far away to see smoke. But anyway, they just assume that for whatever reason they find out. No, this was a visitor with an offer to get out of the situation to a whole, literally a different world, even though it's fairly close. Right? You go from the desert valley to the mountaintop world. It's incredible. It's just complete miracle. Absolute great miracle. Yeah.
Positivity out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay. They accepted. This led to even more wonderful and profound experiences, starting an extended journey of adventure and marvel, a new path which enabled them to continue following their dreams and in a fairly short time enabled them to move to an entirely new continent where the continuation of their path awaited. For the young man and his heart, that initial failure of that particular business represented as a most magical change in their lives, a
Yeah.
change which forced them into a path which was fantastic in every way.
Yeah.
Had that so called failure not have happened, they could easily never have connected with all the magic and wonder which they did.
Yeah.
Always, whatever happens, failure is simply a choice of perspective. If we
Mm,
choose, we can instead simply see it as change, sometimes forced change, but change nonetheless. The issue is not failure or success, but how we choose to deal with change.
mm.
That choice is one that's purely determined by our insistence on unrelenting positivity. There are no mistakes, only gifts of learning. Biella. Okay.
Yeah. That choice
Okay.
is one that's
Yes.
purely determined by our insistence on unrelenting positivity. There are
Yes.
no
Okay.
mistakes,
I'm going to eat
only
now.
gifts of
You
learning.
guys can continue. I'll be
Yes,
listening.
yes, yes. That's my next question. Yeah, I want to hear Sher's perspective on this. Because Sher has had many things in her life happen that might not be looked on as particularly positive, right?
Um,
However, however, yeah. Oh, there's a quote here at
uh,
the end. There's a quote. 1 second. If we are
okay.
impeccable, our mistakes invariably turn into fortuitous mistakes, leading to incredible gifts we would not otherwise access. From Illumina. Very cool. Very cool.
Hmm.
All right, I'm keen on your comments on this, Sher. Your
On the
perspective.
positivity out of nowhere.
Well, anything, just the whole idea of turning negatives into a positive. The question, right? Which
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
what's a good example of turning a negative situation into a positive? Yeah. So
Uh,
yeah, go ahead.
I can say this. I mean, it first it takes a whole lot of practice.
All right. Yes.
I mean,
Yes, it does.
there's no two ways around it. I don't,
Correct.
maybe
Correct.
you, but
Correct. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just don't see. It took me a long time. I'm just
Yeah.
not going to quit stammering
Yeah.
here. It took me a
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
time to
Yeah.
figure
Yeah.
out
No, no. That's why I wanted to hear from you. What you've
that
just
there is
shared
something.
is
Yeah, that there is something good in
yeah.
what we see as negative.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
any
It's huge.
situation.
It's huge.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to say any situation because there's obvious circumstances, of course. Like
Right.
let's
Right.
just take heinous
Exactly.
crimes where somebody's life is
Exactly.
taken. That
Exactly.
it's really difficult to find a positive there. Okay,
Correct. Correct. Correct.
talking
Correct.
about everyday simple stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Today, our water, they had some kind of accident with some pipe or something
Right.
somewhere on the compound, so nobody had water. Um, I could have taken that as a real awful, oh my gosh, this is, what are we going to do? We a couple hours without water. Well,
Yeah.
how did I just told myself there's nothing I can do about it.
There you
They're
go.
working on it.
Right.
And can I make a positive out of this? Well, no, but what I did was
No.
I chose to do something else and I chose to just turn
No.
my
No.
brain to a different direction.
No.
That's a simple example.
Right.
But can you do it? Yes. Of course you can. You just have to be willing, number one. Number two, you've got to be willing to practice at it. And number
Exactly.
three, you're gonna this here's that word. You're not gonna succeed the first few times you do it because you struggle with it. We've got this mindset of negativity.
There you go. Persistence, persistence, persistence.
You have to keep at it and keep telling yourself you will find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
to me, this is not the same as the people who are toxic positivity filled,
No,
where
that's a whole different thing because that's just BS. They're not being honest. Yes.
yes,
It's very
yeah, they're
different.
not being honest
I
about
mean,
it.
they're just lying about things, which is it's not positive. It's just lying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They're just like
Yeah.
when you've had like maybe 7, 10, 12 days of nothing but straight rain, and as they do in some parts of the country, you have these people are going, oh, but the rain is gorgeous. We need it. It helps things grow. But it doesn't help people with
Right.
depression or anxiety.
Right.
So you're positive,
Yes.
It's hard. We have to
Yeah.
really work at it.
Oh yeah, it takes it's a skill that you have to acquire, and like any skill, this is a
Yes.
profound skill. It's also an art, yes, and that requires lots of practice. To
Yeah.
take your example of somebody getting murdered, that
Uh-huh.
type of extreme negativity. It's not about finding that it in itself is good, but to shift perspective from the abstract. For instance, whenever I have these things and I notice them, and well, of course, you can watch news all day and you'll have plenty to notice. But I'm saying it's more personal, right? And the universe is
Hmm.
bringing it to you to notice. Yes, it is
Right.
a reminder that as a society, as a civilization, and us as individuals, we are not there yet.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
because we
God,
can
we
easily
are.
get very satisfied with our lives. Oh, everything's good. I'm happy. I don't know any murderers. I don't know any negative. And I could just kind of stop making an effort to pursue and persist on the path of
Right.
improving life in general. Yes, so when I
Uh-huh.
see that stuff, I'm reminded we're not there yet as a society, as a culture, as a civilization, right? So
Right.
there's a very powerful reminder effect that there's a lot of crap out there that we haven't dealt with yet. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
we can't forget it. Doesn't matter that we don't want to get immersed in the negativity either, but we can never
Uh-huh.
forget it as long as it's there, right? So it's a reminder to remain aware, to pursue more awareness, to pursue discernment, to pursue understanding, to pursue application, change, and like we were saying earlier, not to rest on your laurels of sensibility and awareness. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And that
because
goes back
otherwise you just
to,
take Albert's quote and you just, well, okay, you don't think more about it. You just accept it. But thinking
yeah.
a bit more about it, suddenly you realize, "Oh, there's a lot more to this. I just took it for granted that it sort of applies pretty much always. It does not. It
Uh-uh.
absolutely does not. And that's where we're looking to head, right? Because when you look at all evil, that evil is a reminder of unawareness. Yes. So when I see somebody
Yeah.
bad things happen, it reminds me that the root of it is unawareness. And I ask
Right.
myself, in what way am I being unaware? And I look at the intent of the murderer. What caused them to do this? It's a great reminder of bubble awareness. Typically, most
Mm.
murders are in a bubble. They think they're gonna get some value out of it, right?
Right.
All negative things, bubble awareness. What bubble am I in? What mistake am I making? They thought it was sensible what they're doing. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What am I doing that I think is sensible? See?
Right.
So there's so much when you develop the skill. It's a profound, incredible skill.
Oh.
By the way, just to screen share, really, really interesting, and I might keep this particular picture actually,
Uh-huh.
because the mountain, you see, it's kind of flat up top here. Yeah, it's like a whole
It's,
escarpment. This
uh-huh.
this could be the actual territory. It was a little steeper on the slopes, but it's very sparse like that, and then the valley down the below, and this the implication that that whole mountain top was like a world up there. You couldn't see the
Oh
edges of
yeah.
it. It's like, I don't know if you've been up there. It sounds like you have. It's quite
Mhm.
amazing when you see horizons and everything. You think you're on top of
Uh-huh.
it, but it's very. I think my. Oh yeah. But you can be on top of the mountain and you can see a view like behind me, but you're actually on a mountain. Yeah, it's quite something. But this sparseness of the terrain was very much like it was there. So this could actually
Yeah.
be from the edge of the mountain looking down.
Yeah.
This is quite something. Yeah, I've had some marvelous adventures in my life. I got to tell you, I've really had some incredible
Uh-huh.
adventures. But it started with that failure of that business, the business that should not have failed. It was a business of getting transport contracts for truckers. It was like I
Hmm.
sold the restaurant, and this was part of the sale of the business was. So it was cash and this new business, right? Like a
Right.
franchise. I mean, a franchise is not something that's supposed to fail easily, but it didn't
Right.
even fail. It never even got going.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Zero. Nothing came out of it. Not one single thing. It was, I mean, you can't imagine like, well, the extreme of when you say a business doesn't fail is when you start it and literally nothing happens. Not one single phone call, nothing, zero. Despite us having
Wow.
done our homework on it and having it all checked out, and it was, because we were concerned that it wasn't necessarily legit or whatever, just they overestimating it and everything. No, so that
Yeah.
combination, now the universe is telling you this is anomalous. Pay attention.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we did, and there were so many. I mean, it's a long story. It's a fantastic story when you add up all of the little things together, right? I mean, there was no
Yes.
doubt. But we did something that was in all ordinary things, right? We get back to Albert and insanity. It's not about doing the same things over and over again. We would say in general, to do something that is insane is not a good idea, right? I mean, if we saw a quote, avoid insanity by
Uh-huh.
whoever. Oh, yeah, very good. Yes, avoid insanity. Not always. What we did
Yeah.
was utterly, thoroughly, completely, and totally ludicrously insane under the circumstances. I mean, those the delivery guys, they were very unusual, by the way, right? I mean, they were neatly dressed. They had like white shirts on, and trousers with pleated, iron trousers, and polished
Uh-huh.
shoes. Polished shoes.
Mm.
Yeah, like dress shoes. Have you
Hmm.
ever seen movers that are picking your cupboard up and putting it in the van with polished shoes and pleated trousers?
Oh, not really, no.
It's like, come
No.
on. It's just totally anomalous, right? Anyway, off we went. And, they kept saying to them, us staying there was completely and utterly. They didn't even know that, we had down to our last money. We put it into rice. We had rice to last us for a while and seeds. We were going to grow our own food. Absolutely and utterly
Right.
insane. Absolutely and utterly insane, right? No car, no phone, nothing. Doesn't matter. But but of course,
Right.
doing that was so incredible, and the magic and that visitor, right? I mean, this didn't just turn into a positive. This turned into incredible. So I'm not saying go and do insane things. I'm saying
Right.
when the universe pushes you to be insane, it is appropriate to be insane. Yes. So there's a deeper
Yes.
moreness here, right? So when
Yeah.
because the whole point of this, when we go back a bit further in the story,
Uh-huh.
getting out of the restaurant came because of a decision to live in attunement. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that was it. And that story of the young man where the guests were grabbing his arm and saying, if I was your age, yes, you add all
Yes.
of this together, the universe, and they, became aware of this, and this is why they switched it, or at least he did. He said, you have to read the Gift of Intent story. It's a lot to it. It's not just simple. But the point I'm making is that, insanity in that situation wasn't me just being foolish. It was being absolutely 100% sensible according to a greater sensibility, the sensibility of attunement. Yes. And that's
Yes.
sobriety to its maximum. Now, can I tell you that that decision didn't require inordinate courage? I cannot, because yes, it
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. I was going to say that we
I
do a
mean,
lot of those things, don't
correct.
we?
Ridiculous, preposterous courage. The courage of
Uh-huh.
getting out of an abusive relationship. Same thing.
Yep. That's preposterous. Yeah.
Yes, it's
You
preposterous
do some
courage.
strange
It's
things.
preposterous,
Yeah.
ridiculous courage that's needed because it's the
It
courage to
is.
step out into the unknown. But where do you get the courage from? You get the courage to step out into the scary, scary, scary unknown, to take a massive risk. Why?
Ah,
Because
because
of
you're
your
tired of doing
honesty.
what's insane.
Because you have to. You have no other choice.
Right. So I said, I mean, you just get to a point where you got to get off the hamster wheel. You do.
Exactly, exactly. And that's for us. Like in the story, in this article, it mentions after the failure of that business, we could have gotten regular jobs. But in that circumstance, us getting regular jobs would have been giving up on the quest of living in attunement. Yes.
Yes.
All of that
Yes.
came via attunement. And I can't suddenly say, oh, well, I'm only going to live with attunement when it's convenient. No,
Uh-huh.
no, no. And of course, that whole episode, I mean, so much came out of that. It was just phenomenal. I mean, I've got a long, long story about it, hundreds of thousands of words going into all the incrediblenesses of this, right? That came from it. It's just
Right.
profound. I can't mention how much this is just incredible, right? But it takes that one act. And it was about turning a negative into a positive, of course. And so when you live in attunement, this is very key to see what is perceived as potentially negative isn't necessarily so. Got to learn to see it differently. Got to learn to see it differently, which is where we started, right?
Yes.
Don't assume you know. If we'd assumed we
Exactly.
knew in that situation, I mean, those two delivery guys, they knew
Uh-huh.
100% absolutely knew that this was a bad idea. This was no good. That we were crazy. We were not just crazy, but stupid and foolish. They knew this.
Right.
And their conventionality that, again, look at the universe helping you. They were
Mhm.
dressed very like soberly, like conventionally, like, like business type of attire, right? Very like typical
Right.
conventional. Yeah. But they were doing something that's unconventional. So it's like, but they're the only guys that were going to be available. So when we heard this, at least for me, when I heard them saying, are you sure you don't want to take it back over and over again? Where's it coming from? When you start to look at things from the abstract, it's coming from convention, not from them themselves, coming from convention. See?
Right.
They're a representation. They're a figurative representation. The anomalousness of their attire.
Yeah.
It's a clue. It's a clue. Pay attention. Learn the language of the world. I mean, it's like so clear, right? So duh, yeah. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. In other words, what I'm saying is, why attunement is such a big deal. It's not just turning a negative into a positive, but when you live in attunement, you get into a whole other way of perceiving everything. And look at the magic of it, the magic, the moreness, the incredible moreness. We just got to learn to see, got to learn to listen, learn to perceive, learn to perspective shift. Unbelievable stuff, right? And we can get practice, like Sher says. It's not easy because we've got a lifetime of habit that says, no, 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 no. Be down in your little bubble. Don't do this. Don't do this. Stay where you are. Get beaten up every day.
Exactly.
The whole
Exactly.
lifetime that says to you, accept negativity.
Yes.
Now, who benefits from that?
Not me.
Exactly. But my point is, this is part of our culture. We've been taught to endure, accept negativity. Our
Right.
culture has largely been determined by BMNs. Our
Oh,
culture
yes.
comes from feudal culture. Who determined feudal culture? The feudal lords. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was their game? What was their gig? Exploitation, abuse.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
so this policy, right? This culture that they say accept, endure, suffer, and they made it into virtuous. To suffer is virtuous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Genius,
It's not.
genius manipulation to get free slaves.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but it's not virtuous.
Oh no, it's absurd. It's absurd. It's absurd. And this is the
Yeah.
superiority paradigm. Our culture is there.
The
It's a culture
superiority
that's,
paradigm
yeah,
loves martyrs.
exactly, because it benefits those who put this into place, right? Like I said,
Yep.
where does this idea of endure? Who does it benefit? It benefits the BMN because they're the ones who doing the
Right.
abuse of you, right? And it's to their benefit. Yeah. It's
Right.
fascinating. It's fascinating when we become aware that our culture comes from BMNs, manipulators, bullshitters, right? Narcissists, right? BMN, bullshitter, manipulator, narcissist, BMN. Yeah. It's very, very powerful to be aware of. Very, very, very powerful to be aware of. All right. On that note, I want to end our live and
Yeah. Oh,
continue
that's
with
a good.
Magical Sir.
Oh
Continue with
no,
Magical
actually,
Sir. What's that?
no, thank you. I was gonna say, thank you. And
Our
on that
pleasure.
note, too, I've got to
Yeah.
go too.
Oh, you have to. Oh, okay. I was going to say otherwise, just come right back onto Zoom. But okay, if you have to go, because I have a call coming in at 12:30, so we
Yes.
can have more time if you need. But other than that, no problem. I'm glad you came earlier. Then that's good. That's good. I
Me
enjoy
too.
having time with you. Everything else good with you, Sher? While you're here, real quick.
Yeah, we're good.
Good.
We're good.
I am
So,
keen. I am very keen to maybe later this afternoon. Then, if you come back, I want to hear about what we were talking about last time. That focus, that particular focus. I'm keen for more
okay.
updates on that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay.
All right. Bye
Okay.
bye,
See you
sir.
soon.
Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. End meeting. End meeting.